Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Charge from the Geek podcast. We're your hosts, Joel and Sebastian, and today, April 4th, 2025, we've got a handful of topics on the docket, such as a lot of talk about earnings. We're going to talk about a new Ioniq 6 and a new discount program from Ford and another topic. So without further ado, let's plug in and get started. All right, so let's start with our first topic of the night, and it is earnings season. So let's do a quick recap on EV delivery numbers. And I use the word quick very generously.
Buckle up, everyone.
So starting off, let's talk about Lucid. Lucid reported 3,109 deliveries in quarter one 2025. This is a 28% increase year over year. Lucid's interim CEO attributes Tesla owners fleeing the brand as the source of his uptake, stating that 50% of these orders have been from Tesla owners. Ford in quarter one 2025 reported 501,291 total sales, of which 15% were electrified models. So that's including hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and full EVs. Their EV sales for quarter one accounted for 22,550 units. Mustang Mach-E moved 11,607 units, a 21% increase year over year. The E-Transit saw an increase of 30% year over year at 3,756 units. However, the F-150 Lightning slipped and only delivered 7,187 units, which is a 7.1% drop year over year. And that would most likely be because there is a weird pause between the 2024 and 2025 model years. 2025s are just now being sold. 2024 stopped being produced a little while ago. Inventory, blah, blah, blah. Moving on, Rivian marked a decrease in sales for quarter one. However, Rivian was expecting this. In their quarter four earnings call in February, they stated to expect lower sales due to, quote, seasonality coupled with a challenging coupled with a challenging demand environment, partially driven by the impact of fires in Los Angeles, which has historically been one of our largest markets, end quote. In quarter one, Rivian moved 8,640 units, which is a 36% drop year over year. However, Rivian is still expecting to meet its yearly target of somewhere between 46,000 and 51,000 vehicles this year. Moving on, Toyota and Subaru saw big gains in their EV offerings for quarter one 2025, with Toyota seeing a 195% increase year over year, and Subaru seeing 172% year over year. Toyota moved 5,610 BZ4Xs in quarter one, whereas Subaru moved 3,131 Solterras. Take a breath. Volvo saw an uptick in sales of their EV models in the US, seeing a 179% increase in quarter one year over year. This is likely attributed to the fact that they have two new models, the EX90 and the EX30. GM saw huge gains in quarter one 2025, with their EV sales increasing 94% year over year for a total of 31,887 units, making them the second highest on this list. In quarter one, Chevy sold 10,329 Equinox EVs, 6,187 Blazer EVs, and 2,383 Silverado EVs. This was Cadillac's best quarter since 2008, and EV sales made up 4,300 Lyrics, 1,716 deliveries of the newly launched Optic, and 1,956 Escalade IQs.
Not bad.
GMC EV sales increased 183% year over year, with deliveries of the Hummer moving nearly 3,500 units, and the Sierra EV adding another 1,249. GM also managed to sell 13 Bolts this quarter, which is interesting, seeing as that model was discontinued in 2023.
Were they hiding them somewhere? Were they like in the back of lots? No one knew about them? I mean...
Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? Someone out there hopefully got a really, really good deal.
I know.
And finally, we'll talk about the elephant in the room. Tesla is still by and far the number one EV seller in the US market and globally. However, they posted one of their worst quarters in 2 years for quarter one 2025. Tesla delivered 336,681 vehicles globally this quarter, which is a 13% drop year over year. Tesla is attributing this drop to the ramp of the new Model Y, However, looking at their production numbers, they produced 26,000 more vehicles than they delivered, which to me would make it seem like inventory wasn't an issue.
What it sounds like to me.
But hey, man, I'm not an analyst. Maybe there's some truth to what they said. Who knows? It definitely might not be also that there's a lot of political action behind them and disgruntledness among owners and etc. But we're not going to dig too far into that.
Nope, we won't. So let me just recap these numbers, see if I'm right. Lucid up 28%, Ford up 21%, Rivian down 36%, Toyota up 179%, Subaru up 172%, Volvo up 170%. I think I wrote this down wrong. 179%. GM up 94%, and Tesla down 13%. Correct?
Yes.
That's about right. All right. Interesting.
So now you know.
Yep.
Here's your numbers. Do with that what you will.
Yes.
Now we can move on.
Yeah, we're not speculating here. We're just giving you the facts, and you are feel free to comment on why you think these numbers are the way they are. But we have our opinions, and we really like to hear yours. So we move on.
Yes. Hyundai has unveiled the refreshed Ioniq 6. Hyundai this week unveiled their refreshed Ioniq 6, and on the exterior, the general shape of the vehicle remains the same. However, there are some changes to the front and rear fascia that will hopefully appeal to consumers more than the current design does. For starters, on the front of the car, the vehicle gets a more aggressive look, sporting very thin lighting elements and some sharp angles. On the rear of the vehicle, the car loses its double spoiler design, instead gaining one large spoiler in its place. Joel, you have any pictures to show for this?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm in La La Land over here. Let me share my screen. I just realized
you're fine. I'll keep talking.
I really like to see pictures of this, and I have a tab up here to share. So yes, and now that you say that, there we go.
Perfect.
There we go.
On the inside of the car, there's an updated steering wheel, Hyundai's latest CC&C software, and some changes to the interior materials and layout. For example, I noticed the big center tunnel is slightly reworked to have more buttons all on the driver's side of the center tunnel, and then kind of all your cup holders and trays on the passenger side.
Mm-hmm.
Hyundai did not announce any spec changes yet. However, I would expect this vehicle to get the same new battery pack that we're finding in the refresh Ioniq 5, which is slightly bigger and sits at a slightly different voltage, so you get a little more power, and it has a better onboard or DC booster so that it can charge better on low voltage chargers that don't support 800 volt Tesla superchargers.
Allergies are kicking Sebastian's butt this week.
Yeah, man, they really are. I'm sorry about the way I sound.
'Tis the season in Arkansas.
Hyundai has also announced, which is on the screen currently, a new trim level, the Inline, which gives the car a more sporty appearance. They've also teased that there will be a full-blown N model coming soon.
Ooh. Yeah, I like this one here. I like those rear lights. Yeah, it looks more egg-shaped to me, but I like what they've done with it. You know, I've had some issues with the Ioniq 6, and just kind of I wasn't always a big fan of it. I think it was the headlights that did it for me. So I'm glad they kind of, narrowed those out and sleeked those up a little bit. So yeah, I mean, pretty cool. Hopefully, I'm sure we'll get same battery pack. You said are changing the battery. What did you say again about the battery pack on that?
I'm assuming it's going to be the same one that they've put in the refresh Ioniq 5. So instead of a 77 kilowatt hour unit, it's a 84, I believe.
And with the Aero, it should get a bump in range too. So
yeah, so if the current model gets up to 340 miles of range, I would expect maybe the new one gets an additional
360
20 or 30 miles.
Yep, so I'm thinking 360. Yep. So yeah, cool. Kudos on. They're always innovating. They're always changing. We haven't. Can't wait to see these on a lot here. Hopefully within the next year, sometime next year. And yep, and can't wait to hopefully get some Ioniq 5s on the lots too, so we can review one of those.
Yep. All right. The Polestar 2 might be dead in the U.S. I'm fairly confident it is, but
it's dead.
Electric noted earlier this week that shortly after the April 2nd tariffs went into effect, the Polestar 2 disappeared from the U.S. site menu. The page still existed, however, it was no longer front and center on the home screen. Since that article was published, the page is back in the menu bar. However, the ability to configure a car is gone, and the site instead tries to guide you into purchasing a certified pre-owned model. The Polestar 2 is still available overseas and is in fact receiving updates for the coming model year, such as a new sound system and etc. However, since the car is built in China, it shouldn't be too shocking that it's no longer viable for the US market. They had already, this previous model year, made it to where you could only buy the most expensive trim level because that was the only one that they could make financial sense to sell here with
Yep.
tariffs. And now they're even worse. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that this car is dead for us. We only get the Polestar 3 and maybe the Polestar 4 now.
So yeah, I mean, this sucks because, you know, we drove a Polestar 2 and we really liked it, except for some of the odd ergonomics of the inside of it. But hopefully, I don't know, this may be a domino effect. I mean, I think was the Volvo, isn't the EX30 made in China as well?
Currently, but they are moving production to Belgium, which will still get faced with some tariffs, but it won't be as bad as China. So
yeah, hopefully this doesn't start a domino effect of other EVs that are manufactured overseas, because then it's going to limit our choices over here. But yeah, it sucks. I mean, the Polestar, it was a decent car. We liked it a lot, and was hoping to see more of them on the road. But I guess for the foreseeable future, we won't be.
Yep. And our final topic of the night, Ford has announced a new discount program. On Thursday, Ford launched their new From America for America program. This new program offers employee pricing on most of Ford models. They're excluding Raptors, Super Duties, the Expedition, Navigator, and Fleet sales. Ford is also extending its Power Promise program to June 30th, which offers a free Level 2 charger with install to new EV owners, or you can take a $500 discount on the vehicle if you already have an EV charger.
Mm-hmm.
Ford claims that they're able to do this because they, quote, have the inventory. However, there is no way that this isn't their way of trying to get a leg up on their competition due to the new automotive tariffs. There's the timing and everything is too perfect to not be at least semi-motivated by that. This is neat. This essentially Ford is giving everyone a plan pricing as long as their dealership is actually choosing to participate. Which that's kind of your dealer has to do it. So if your dealer doesn't do it, they're ripping you off.
Yeah. And I would attribute this to inventory. I mean, like I said before we start talking, I was just browsing around to see if any of the new 2025 Mach-E's made it in, or Lightning's made it to one of our dealerships. And our one dealership here currently has about 23 or 24, 2023 and 2024 for Mustang Mach-E's still on their lot, which is a lot considering where we live.
Right.
So I'm sure it's an inventory issue. They probably want to get a lot of these out before the 2025 start coming out in mass numbers. So I'm glad. So
yeah, I mean, they're from kind of brief looks and kind of seeing example numbers that some dealers have been willing to share. You can get some pretty good deals. I think I saw F-150, the gas vehicle. I didn't see anyone advertising Lightnings yet. It was around $10,000 off for the employee pricing, plus then any other rebates that you might qualify for. And I think I saw like on a Ford Escape, it was like $4 or $5 grand. So like it's not a tiny chunk of money to that you'd be getting a discount on. So sounds good.
Yeah,
Joel, is it time for you to buy a Lightning?
I don't know. I got to figure out my charging situation at home first. Let me get Lightning. So speaking of Lightning, it's getting close. So the Model Y is getting a little long in the tooth. Like I told you on the road trip podcast, 91,000 miles. So hopefully, I think what's going to happen is my wife will get a new car and I'll take over the Kia begrudgingly for about a year. So I just don't. I mean, she likes it. I'm not a fan of it. But yeah, I think it's time for a lot of people to buy some Lightnings if they're doing this employee pricing. Any mention on lease deals or not?
Not yet.
Okay.
However, I mean, if they're reducing the price of a vehicle, then the lease cost should go down as well.
I did come across the Honda Prologue page that I'm a part of that their lease pricing actually went up today.
Interesting.
I think they were offering leases for like $499 for the Honda Prologue, and now it's up to $599. So
yeah, interesting.
We don't know what it's from. We can only speculate. So you make your own judgment call.
All right. Well, we didn't drive anything this week, so we don't have anything to talk about on that front. So
I was on a boat.
You were on a boat for like a week.
I was on a boat for a week. I didn't drive it though, and it wasn't electric. So we've been fighting storms here in Arkansas. Right now, it's thundering behind you, praying the electricity doesn't go out.
Yep. Yeah, so if you guys have heard any what sounds like Joel like breathing into a microphone, it's not Joel breathing, it's thunder outside.
It's thunder outside. Yes.
Yeah, so I apologize in advance for that.
Yes, I'm sorry.
All
I can
right, well
breathe into mic if you want me to.
that is a wrap for today's shorter episode. Thank you all for plugging into the Friday Charge. Be sure to subscribe to the EV Geek podcast on YouTube and tap that notification icon to be notified about new releases. Next week, we release a review of the Sierra EV Denali, which, 2 thumbs up, as well as a discussion on DC fast charger pricing and some of the interesting things that has spurred. If you have any thoughts or questions, drop them in the comments below because we would love to hear from you. So long, everyone, and we will see you on the next episode of The Friday Charge.